I'll be honest with you, I have not scripted this video, so you're going to have to work to pay attention. So the thumbnail here, I'm just showing you these different deposits in the body, this discoloration, and that you can pass it on to your child, especially as a woman. So first off, your genes do not determine everything, especially as you can see here when it comes to eye colour or your irises in general. It does have some effect in terms of you've got amber and you've got blue eyes. And here's what you're going to learn. So eye colour is not just genetics, and I'll have some examples. Most importantly, 3 examples of major toxicity passed on, and these should really convince you. Then there's only a small section on this, but why palmistry is important as well. That will be a separate video in the future. And most importantly, how to massively reduce that toxicity in a few years rather than decades, and that will come right near the end, so stay tuned for that. So first off, we're going to start with a little anecdote from Ogenus. I will preface it, excuse me, I'll preface it with that these are not the actual images, but these are approximations that I found based on the description of the eyes before and after. So this was a girlfriend that Ogenus had sometime around the 70s or 80s, who was born with very dark brown eyes. The mother and father also had very dark eyes and was raised on very sort of terrible food. She had these blue activity rings, and this is a good example I managed to find online. You see the blue colour coming through in all of these activity rings. And so he eventually convinced her, after some back and forth, to go and do some weight loss and weight gain cycles, starting with weight gain, of course. So she went from 112 to 140 pounds, which is just over 35 pound weight gain, which is perfect on Ogenus's system. And so 1.5 years later, after doing this every 3 months of weight gain, 3 months of weight loss, her eyes became hazel and revealed cancers in 3 different areas of the eye. Now, obviously, this isn't the real eye, so I can't show you where they are because it's not her eye, but that's an example of the change in colour that Ogenus described here. So then, just to show you some more examples, this here is Ogenus's eye in 2007 before he was injected with substances in 2009 against his will. So that's a very healthy looking blue eye, only with some of these slightly weaker areas and a little bit of scar tissue left, a little deposit of some sort of drug in the prostate. And this, I do not know who this is, but I found it online. It's a very good example of a true amber eye, because you can't, even in these activity rings, they're white almost, so that's just a change in the lighting rather than it showing any blue colour coming through, so that's a true amber eye. This is myself. I've got some broken fibres here, transversal fibre, some weakness in the kidney there, and then antibiotic or sulfur residue in the small intestine, some more broken fibres out here, sort of like pointless art, which Ogenus said indicates intracellular toxins instead of extracellular, which iridology normally shows. Then this is another person's eye who this could be blue, it could be amber. You can see there's a little mercury deposit up in the left shoulder bone. And then these are 2 different people. You can see that this one has a much more constricted gut area, whereas this one's much more distended outwards and has some more gaps in it. This one has some radii solaris, which indicates going towards leaky gut. But they both have these activity rings coming through here, which display a little bit of possible blue colour under there. Possible blue colour there. Now, this is another point I wanted to make. Women do live longer than men, everyone knows this. And this is because the body prioritises its own survival before anything else. Excuse me there. So the body dumps toxins wherever it can, and in women you have the uterus, where every month you can build tissue into the uterus and excrete it in a period. And so as an extension of that, one of the places that you can also detox is actually through the growing fetus when you're pregnant. And this should be of concern to anyone that wants to have healthy children. This is an extract directly from Ogenus. And I looked it up and I found the study for you here, which is saying that mercury, this is from dental fillings, but if you're watching this video, you probably know the other cause, the other source of mercury. So it went through not only to the breast milk as well, but also straight through the placenta to the unborn fetus, and increased in all the different areas of the fetus's body. So it's actually quite scary, to be honest. Um, but regardless, you shouldn't be scared, because there is a solution. Now, I remembered seeing this video quite a while ago. This is a woman who followed an animal-based diet during the pregnancy, and this is a vegetarian or vegan, I can't remember which, mother during the pregnancy. And you can see how much healthier the animal-based placenta is, so it is affected by diet as well. And I've got another anecdote for you. So this is not a girlfriend, but rather a young girl brought by her parents to Owanza, who was born with almost black eyes, similar to this. Again, these aren't the real photos. The father had green eyes, the mother had blue eyes, and the siblings were combinations of blue and green. However, the mother drank and smoked all throughout the pregnancy, not knowing she was pregnant for the first 5 months. And she actually kept on having periods during that time, so she didn't know she was pregnant because it had destroyed the placenta. So she didn't filter any toxins out particularly, and it then took 8 years on the diet, the primal diet by Owanza, to see this change in her, where her eyes went from this colour to a sort of blue with hazel brown around the middle. Now, this is an interesting one. This is directly from Owanza's book, actually. So if you have Owanza's book or you want to read it, it's in the description. And you can read about it in several places. So this was, again, a woman who came to Owanza who had only a few weeks to live whilst he was working in a health food store. And she also refused at the time to eat any meat because of religious beliefs, spiritual reasons. So she went on his diet with 63 tumours throughout the brain and nervous system, in the uterus as well, and in a couple of other places. She was a long-term vegetarian, which is a trend Owanza saw in cancer patients. But she survived. And then she went through many years of detoxification and feeling better, and then eventually reached a great state of health. But during that time, herself and Owanza became very close, and they dated for quite a while. And during that time, they would have sex, and she would miscarry several of the babies, one of which at 5 months old was miscarried, unfortunately, and was translucent and plastic-like, which is very strange. It's not normal. And they had a lab analysis done on it, and it revealed it was mostly composed of tumour and dead nerve tissue, which is shocking, really. Now, this eye, the reason I've added this eye is this is someone who grew up very skinny, very, very skinny, and you can see how broken all these fibres are. However, you can also see a lack of discoloration. This is a stomach ring. This relates to over or under acidity of the stomach, but you don't see any toxins almost at all anywhere. And that's because if you're very skinny, the toxins will go intracellular, so inside the cells rather than outside. And so I've got this point that a palmistry video will come up soon to show about intracellular toxicity. Now, you've also got examples here of some toxic conditions. I'll zoom in for you. This is a current client that I'm working with who has these dark mercury deposits, some of which are in the sort of vocal cords, a little bit higher in the thyroid or throat, and then one a little bit lower, probably in the lower back or bladder. Another one here. Then we've also got, this is someone that from online, so pretty good constitution here, but you see these white dots are very opaque, so that's a lot of lymphatic congestion in the glands. However, normally these would be right out near the iris periphery. So the fact that they're drawn in so much actually shows that the lymphatic system is quite underdeveloped. Then this is someone who has had, and still to some degree has, prostate cancer and has gone through medical treatments for it. And this is the prostate area. You can see that this area, there's a very dead line inside of it. This lesion here, let's say, has a lot of fibres in it still, so does this one. And despite this being thin, it's completely dead inside. And then on the other side, there's not particularly a lesion, but you've got these blood spots, and you've also got a lot of this white tissue with some small white dots in the area, which could indicate cancer. And then lastly, this is someone who did a lot of drugs whilst being vegan, and you can see a lot of these drugs collected over here in this area. So that sounded really depressing, all of that, but there is hope. Now, on the sort of what I've nicknamed the old primal diet before 2009, Ogenus would quote Pottinger and Howell, who are scientists who worked with cats and rats respectively, and found it took 5 generations to reach optimal health from a very poor state of health, as long as they could reproduce, which translates in humans to 35 to 40 years, based on it taking 7 years to change out all of your bone tissue, which takes the longest. So your other tissues, like your skin, could reach optimal health faster than this, but this was the whole body optimal health sort of time frame, and that's without injections being accounted for. But then you've also got what I've nicknamed the new primal diet, which is post 2009, where Ogenus then said it could. He didn't say 7 to 13 years, but he said that you could heal 3 to 5 times faster, which is calculated based off this bit here. And the main reason is for these two detoxification methods that he started to develop and did develop. And he was still working on more things, but they've not been released. So you can read about that in some of the links in the description. So, it's working. The old primal diet comes mostly in Ogenus's two main books, We Want to Live the Primal Diet and The Recipe for Living Without Disease. However, he, from 2005 as well, but also beyond that, he developed more and more the idea of hot baths, or going to hot springs, or using a hot tub, but hot baths, to melt the waste out of the lymphatic system, which he eventually decided that it was healthful and safe to do it every single day, up to between at least 105 degrees Fahrenheit and up to 110 at the very most. And then he also discovered the benefits of raw cheese, starting in 2007 and then developing it with over those 2 years to 2009. And then from then on, he started to recommend that people eat a lot of cheese throughout the day, and it must be raw, so never heated above 38 Celsius. And it also must be unsalted, so no added salt. So if you want to learn more about any of this stuff, about the primal diet itself, there's an very extensive and very well made, that I've read myself, a free guide from Ron, who has this website here. He also does offer paid coaching if you want to develop even faster, but he encourages people to use his free guide first. You can learn about the primal diet interactively on healthfully.ai. It's a very good website and it's just been updated, so have a look at that. And then to plug myself, of course, I do offer iridology. I've got an email that you can send, which you'll receive an automated message from, or you can go on this website to see my contact and my prices and what I can offer you. Thank you for watching, and I wish you a healthful, happy life.